Alright, I'll just have to do it like this. Alright guys, so today we'll start out with the video from the phone call with the inmate. You guys should be able to hear that, and then while that's playing, I will fix this mic real quick.
Now we're talking about Richard Allen, the guy that fucking did the Delphi murders. He got transferred there to Westville when?
Like Thursday. Last Thursday.
Okay. So you know some people that take care of or feed him and stuff?
You're not recording this shit, are you?
No.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah. But anyways, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, they were actually, they told him the other day, they said, hey, clean up, we need you to clean out this observation cell. Clean it out really good. And then he was like, what's going on? Like, man, something's up. Like, everybody's acting all weird. So he cleaned out, he scrubbed this observation room. It's a suicide room. It's on camera. And like 30 officers come in, like state police, the sheriffs, all of them, and they brought him, Richard Allen, in there, in an observation cell.
No shit.
Yeah, so he's on suicide watch, he's on camera, and they are not allowed to bring him food or nothing. The COs bring him the food, but they walk by him, and he's basically been asleep for 3 days. He don't do nothing, he sleeps. And everybody on the ranges are yelling at him, saying, you're not safe anywhere, bitch, we're gonna kill your ass, and they're just hollering at him 24/7.
No shit.
And he's laying there acting like he's sleeping the whole time since he's been here for like 3 days.
Dang. You gotta provide me with updates, bro, on this guy.
I will. That's why I just went and asked.
Okay, I'm gonna try. Okay, now it's working. I can see. Okay, I fixed it. Now it might be too loud. Okay, one more time. One in the chat if you can hear me. Sorry guys, I don't know why it just reset and it wasn't recognizing my mic. So sorry about that. That should be so much better. I can see it now. All right, so yes, I do see some people in the chat saying that they do talk about some stuff about what happened with the, because if you guys caught one of my videos, I talk about some of the possibilities that led law enforcement to Richard Allen. One of them was something that was released early on that was most likely just a made-up rumor, and that was the whole him stealing something from a neighbor and then burying it in the yard. So yeah, he does bring that up. I don't think that is the case. That seems kind of ridiculous. Plus, we would have heard something about the charges. So let me slow down the chat real quick, and then here, let me play this, and I'll slow down the chat.
Dude, yeah, he's actually the one that cleaned out the observation cell. That's what he called it, an observation cell. And the sergeant, when it was like, clean this out, he's like, what's going on? Like, and the sergeant was like, I'll tell you in a minute. And then they're like, you know that fucking dude that killed the Delphi girls? Like, yeah, they're bringing him in here. Like, they said they don't have anywhere in the state, anywhere they can keep him safe.
I bet not.
Mom said that the judge was like, look, I'm ordering him to be sent to Indiana Department of Corrections, and like withdrew from the case.
Yeah, the judge is scared, man, because the judge is worried that they're going to be putting pictures of his family and stuff like that on the news and on TV, and the judge even said that his staff can't handle this case, and, like, yeah, I foresee this definitely being transferred. But they called in, they said they might have a judge. I did see that.
So I want to know how they found out it's him finally.
Well, bro, what I know, and this is from me, like, keeping an eye on social media and filtering through the crap and not the crap, you know. But, so, I guess they served a search warrant on his home almost 2 weeks to the day of them detaining him. And I heard that the way they got the search warrant was they said that one of the neighbors had something stolen and it was buried in his yard. And that's how they were able to get the search warrant for his place.
And what they find?
From what I've seen on social media from the neighbor.
Okay, yeah. I guess I'll have to reset my program after this. It looks like it, with me fixing the mic, it stopped my camera. But I got another one up. Unfortunately, I had to reset the settings, but I had to do that after the live. Unfortunately, you can never have a perfect show. So anyway, so he's kind of talking about that thing that we were just talking about. But what I've got playing in the background is just the February 14th flyover. So I thought I would just play that. This audio does come from Chris Moyer, which I will put the link to the full clip of that video if you are interested. I'm going to play just a little bit more.
That was there watching all day long. The neighbor said that the cops rolled in at about noon, and then they had Richard Allen standing out in his driveway for a couple hours, and then Richard Allen's wife pulled up in her minivan, and Richard Allen got into the minivan and sat in the passenger seat with the minivan door open. And then a couple hours after that, I guess it was seen that the sheriff of Delphi showed up with some piece of paper and went and showed it to Richard Allen. And after that, they went ahead and put Richard Allen's vehicle, not the minivan, but his vehicle, they put it on a flatbed tow truck and towed it away, and they searched the house, and they dug in the backyard in 2 different spots that were little burn piles. And
so he does mention the burn pile, because we heard that they served the search warrant. He says 2 weeks prior to the arrest. I think it's more a week and a half or a week. We'll look at the dates. October 17th, I think, is when they first showed up, and then they arrested him on the 26th. But I'll show the calendar. Some people are asking what's playing in the background. This is the helicopter footage from when they were searching for the girls, which this was flying around at about, I'm not exactly sure, but somewhere probably between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So just before or around noon the next day, which is kind of when they found the girls. And I've actually scanned this actual video. I mean, you can actually see some flash photography where I think they had just discovered the crime scene and were starting to take pictures. And that's, I think that might be coming up.
Then it was getting dark, but the neighbor was watching with binoculars and seeing them carry out a shoebox.
Okay, so they're going to talk about what's carried out. We've talked about this on the channel before. Yes, the 13th. Well, no, because they went missing on the 13th. This would have been the next day. This would have been the 14th. But thank you so much, Sour Blaze Hayes. I love that name. You're good, people. 100%, Chris. Love you. Love you too. Thank you so much for the $2.
2 different dark cloth items and a Macy's bag. And I think maybe one other thing, but I'm not for certain about that. So, but I also heard on social media that they had been watching Richard Allen, and he had recently burnt something in his backyard. So this is what I believe most might have.
So I think that could be true. We've heard about that. That after this search warrant was served, that he was trying to burn something in the backyard. But I don't think the whole thing with the neighbors and him stealing something, I doubt that, because I think we would have heard about that. But we don't know 100% one way or the other, but it seems unlikely. I think they found him more likely through the Kleins or investigative work. There's one more thing I wanted to say before I continue. I'm going to play just a little bit more. He starts kind of going into the Kleins and stuff, and we're going to talk about that. There is kind of an update with the Kleins, or with Kegan, I should say, anyway. And then I did some research. I know everybody's, all the sleuths are out on it and doing all the background search. And I did notice that there was an address that he had in Peru somewhere around before 2005. And we'll look into that as well. But yeah, there's a few new updates, especially with Kegan Klein and what's going on with his charges.
Happened. That's all speculation, but still, this is kind of what I think. So, hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Alright, so, you know who this Kegan Kline character is?
Who?
Kegan Kline?
Yeah.
Alright, so I think that guy, he was soliciting minors online, and I think his dad was possibly also involved, Tony Klein, and I think Tony Klein and Richard Allen knew each other because Richard Allen used to live in Peru.
Which actually, yes, we did find an address, excuse me, that does show that. Now I will show you that address and where it's located compared to where Tony and Kegan lived, and it's just down the street, which is kind of interesting.
Close to Kegan Kline and his dad.
Yeah, we don't know exactly who's talking. It's just an inmate that I'm assuming obviously would be from Indiana Corrections, because he's talking about, if you missed the first part, he talked about how they're kind of segregating Richard Allen. Obviously, he's kind of on suicide watch. He's getting threats, which, I mean, anybody that's connected to this case is getting threats, unfortunately. And now there's a letter he wrote. We're going to look into that. If you catch my trailer, I kind of read it, but obviously he does not have anyone representing him right now.
Tony Klein. And Tony Klein and Richard Allen are about the same age. So I think they knew each other from there, and they went, like Kegan Kline, the son, was like, hey, I've got these girls here, and because
yeah, no, this is really just the first part was what's most interesting. Is just kind of what's going on with, because we've got a little inside information of what's, going on inside the jail, and what it sounds like, he's just kind of been there sleeping. And so it's kind of interesting to learn about that. But yeah, as far as the speculation, they don't, they're just kind of going off what, us YouTubers are kind of uncovering. So I'm going to skip it forward. There's a little news update, and then we'll look at Kegan, and I've got a couple other things I'm going to show you guys.
I think if there was that many people involved
in child speculation, see that. Well, that lives in Delphi, All right. Yeah, I'll order that.
It has been nearly a week since officials over in Carroll County announced charges in the Delphi double murder investigation. Abby Williams and Libby Germoon were both found dead back in 2017 on the Monon High Bridge. Now, a Delphi man is facing charges. We don't know much about why investigators believe this man right here, Richard Allen, was connected to the killings. Now, we do know he still has to hire his own attorney, and a judge from Fort Wayne is now overseeing the case. Fox 59's Russ McQuaid spoke to a judge who is giving us some insight into this complicated case.
When Richard Allen was arrested on October 26th, that started the clock ticking on the case against him and also on the constitutional rights that protect his presumption of innocence. Last Monday's briefing by authorities was light on details, including the evidence and the state's case against Richard Allen.
I first thought, well, who's going to represent him? Who's his attorneys?
Allen's My Case file does not list a defense attorney, though in a judge's order last week to move Allen to state custody for his own safety, the court said Allen announced at his secret initial hearing October 28th that he would hire his own attorney.
But given the fact that he's been moved out of the county jail to a couple of different locations indicates he may not have access to counsel in order to go retain one.
Allen has the right to know the details of the case against him, but because the file is sealed, we don't know if he knows what he's up against.
The issue, though, constitutionally for Mr. Allen, though, is paramount. There's no circumstances under which he's not allowed to know why he's been arrested.
Allen has until November 17th to tell the judge if he has an attorney, and he must request a change of venue to relocate his trial to get an unbiased jury by November 26th. And his speedy trial deadline is set for next March 20th. But the Carroll County prosecutor's rare secrecy in pursuing this case complicates the state's protection of Allen's rights.
All of that in conjunction or in combination is extremely.
I think that's kind of what they've got him in, is something like that, is solitary. Because, yeah, everybody, from what we're hearing, the inmates are threatening him, which is no surprise. But, of course, we don't want anything to happen to him yet until he's found guilty and, they get the because family needs to get justice. Something happens to him behind, while he's in jail or prison. Before the family gets their justice, some of those secrets are going to die with him. And so let's hope nothing happens to him until after. And, of course, he can go to town, or it is a death penalty state. So there's that as well. Okay, so moving on. So we just played the phone call. I'm going to quickly, since you guys couldn't hear me, I'm just going to quickly do this one more time because this was a special request to me. So this is Miles Staton. He went missing on October 20th. He's just 21 years old, 5'10", hazel eyes, brown hair, does have a tattoo on each thigh above the knee. He does have a black Honda CRV. It's a 97 with Utah plates. It does have a black, it does have some stickers on the back, a toy machine sticker. If you have any information, he was last seen in Aurora, Oregon. If you have any information, please call 619-955-2986. All right, just because you guys couldn't hear me at the beginning, so I apologize. And if you didn't hear me, they did find Lauren Gutierrez, which is great. So there's always a silver lining to everything. So just wanted to quickly recap that since you guys couldn't really hear me at the beginning. I apologize. I will, after the show, definitely reset everything. Looks like my mic wasn't working properly. Thank you so much, Hope Figueroa, for the $4.99 super sticker. Thank you so much for the support. If you're new to the channel, I said not only do I cover murder mystery to the paranormal, but I do actually go out and try to find missing people. I will have kind of an update at the end of this live show, kind of talking about the direction of this channel and where we're going to try to take it. So we will discuss that in a little bit. So, okay, moving on to some stuff it's a little bit newer. And I did notice a lot of people are watching the one video where, because, we know that there's the bridge guy video that's like 43 seconds. And we've heard that there's kind of like a transcript of what was said. And I noticed a lot of people are watching that video. So I thought maybe we would kind of touch on that towards the end. But anyway, so just to recap, February 13th, the girls get dropped off at about 1:40 p.m. Libby and Abby. Kelsey, the sister to Libby, drops them off. And they reach the bridge at 2:05. So they're kind of taking their time. And then at 2:07, she does a Snapchat photo of Abby when she's about halfway across this long Monon bridge here. And then unfortunately at 2:13, there's somebody that's caught up to them. This is now would most likely be Richard Allen. And there is a 43-second video that is recorded. So Libby was a hero for doing that. And we do learn that he says, guys down the hill. But we will go into that transcript about what could have been said in those 43 seconds, or at least part of that. But then we've got Klein, who was arrested in August of 2020 for 30 counts of CSAM. Very bad stuff. He was using a profile or a catfishing profile called Anthony Shots, where he was basically getting young girls to show them nude photos and stuff. He created this on just a year prior in 2016 on July on Instagram and Snapchat, and there are a few others. I think Yellow or Yubu, but these are the primary ones. I think Instagram and Snapchat. Let me quickly grab these. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for the $5. Bonnie Bailey, thank you so much for the support. Joe Bridges says, keep up the good work, Chris and Mob Crew. I look for more arrests. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, especially in this, could be possibly. A lot of people feel like not only Kegan Klein, but maybe Tony Klein. I mean, I definitely think Kegan for sure. Maybe Tony might have known something as well. Yeah, I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But thank you so much for the $25. One of the things that's interesting about this Anthony Shots account is that they had spoken with Libby that day of the murders in the morning on February 13th, 2017. So the theory is it's possible that either Klein and Richard both showed up, or maybe Allen was the one that maybe got access from Klein about this Anthony Shots, because law enforcement believes that there was more than one person using this Anthony Shots account. Obviously, one would be Kegan, and the other one we originally thought was Tony, but now it could be Richard Allen, just the way that there was two different personalities when they were talking to these girls. And then before the murders and after, he kind of changed his jobs, saying that he was working in Vegas when he was not in Vegas at the time. He was still in Peru. And then the big one is, for some reason, he changes it to February 12th, one day prior to the murders, saying that he's working at a Las Vegas casino and hotel. So I would say, if he's involved, that's a poor attempt at an alibi. Okay, and then of course we would learn, the public would learn about this in November, or actually December of last year, and then we would get the transcripts earlier this year. What's interesting is they did a search of the river starting in August and ending in September, where they were searching in the Wabash River, which is just 6 minutes away from the residence that Klein was living at during that time. Here's just kind of all the X's are the days that they were out there searching the Wabash River. And then, of course, they finished up on September 20th. And then it looks like less than a month, on October 17th, is when they served the search warrant for Richard Allen. So I think the timing is not coincidental. One thing, the bodies were found on Ron Logan's property. There have been some things News Nation did have a little thing that we went over in the last live where they talked about they had Jason Jensen and Jennifer Coffindaffer on along with another guest. I forget his name. Where unfortunately they were bringing up Ron Logan and said that they felt like he was the accomplice because it seems like there is a good possibility that Richard didn't act alone. And they, this particular panel, thought that Ron Logan was the accomplice just because of his made up alibi. But that was really, I think the alibi was really just because he had a suspended license and he thought he was going to get in trouble. But I think the only possible way that he could have been involved, and I think just by accident, is if he was out there and he just happened to stumble across the bodies and kind of freaked out. Maybe even try to move them. I doubt it, but that's the only way I could see, in my personal opinion, that Ron Logan would be somehow incorporated into all of this. But in my personal opinion, I don't think he was the accomplice. But okay, moving on. Of course, then they arrested Richard Allen, who's 50 years old. Okay, I know what I want to quickly get over to is the new thing with Kegan Kline. So last week we learned that they dropped 5 charges and then amended more than a dozen others. Let me clear that up real quick. So they dropped 5 charges and amended more than a dozen others against Kegan Kline. This happened, so they arrested Richard Allen on the 26th, charged him on the 28th of October. Then you look at 7 to 8 days later, then all of a sudden Klein has these charges dropped / or amended. The timing of that is quite interesting. So there is a new motion that was released today. And so I am going to read it. It says, come now, the defendant, Kegan Kline by counsel, Andrew A. Ashley, and respectfully request that this court continue the jury trial scheduled on January 18th of next year at 8 a.m. Through January 20th. So basically just start of the trial. And it goes through the 27th of next year in January. In support of said motion, the defendant states as follows. This matter is currently scheduled for a final pretrial conference. Make sure you guys can all see it. On December 22nd of this year at 10 a.m. So he did have his pretrial earlier in October, which lasted all of 4 minutes from what we understand. So I thought it was kind of weird that they had no problems at the pretrial, but now after the pretrial, now he's having all these charges dropped. And it says, okay, so I'm going to go back. This matter is currently scheduled for final pretrial on December 22nd at 10 a.m. Jury trial is January 18th, we just mentioned. And those are the dates that his regular trial is going through. And then on number 2, this is the big one, that the parties are currently engaged in negotiations. So this is huge. This was filed today, right? The 8th. And so they are saying that the parties are currently engaged in negotiations. So I was reading a little bit on Reddit because obviously I don't have a background in the court system, but just from what I was reading from some people that kind of have some experience in that field, they said that's kind of the one or two things may have happened, and that is either he's going to plead guilty, and so they're working, instead of having to do trial, he's going to plead guilty and get lesser charges, or he's cooperating. So, but I think with how many charges they're either amending / dropping, so he had a 30 originally, he had 30 charges. They're talking about a dozen amended and 5 dropped. That's over half his charges being, lessened. So I would think that this is involved with the some kind of cooperation, but that's just my opinion. But that is interesting. Let's see. So the prosecutor, Diedrichs, was contacted regarding this motion, and he has no objection to this motion to continue the jury trial. Let's see, anything else? That this motion to continue is not being made to unnecessarily delay the proceedings. And jury trial May 10th, 12th. Okay, so yeah, so kind of interesting. Just looking at the chat, we got Tony D. Lost is not alone. Love you, brother. Love you too, Tony. Tony is with EquiSearch. I got to work with him recently. Like I said, we do more than just cover murder cases. I do try to go out and actually help, and we're going to try to expand on that even more. But it's always an honor to have a team member like Tony D, who really helped me learn so much more about the drone itself, which was really cool. Okay, let's see, what should we jump over to? So let's look at his addresses and why there's a possible connection with the Kleins and Richard Allen. So if we look at his kind of background and where he lived, so obviously he lived in Delphi for the last 16 years. But pulling up his background report did show an address in Peru. Now the only problem is it does not give a date. Now this would come before his residence in Mexico, Indiana, which is kind of up north that way as well. So this would have been somewhere 2005 prior to that, I believe. And so I'll show you on Google Earth kind of where everything's at. So, so here's the Monon Bridge. Richard Allen was living at this residence here from current to 2006. Was working at the CVS. Another thing we have learned that I did kind of mention a little bit in a short video is that he was, and we've seen a picture, is he did work at Walmart. Apparently he's worked for Walmart for a while. I'm not sure the exact dates, but apparently he worked at multiple stores, which I have worked in retail. I've actually worked for Walmart for a short period, but I've worked in retail for 8 years. And that is a pretty common thing, especially like Walmart and bigger retail stores like that. Especially if you're kind of moving up, they do tend to move you around. So that's, at least in my experience, that is common to get moved around when you're working in retail, especially for bigger companies. So this is where Kegan and Tony were living during the time of the murders. Here's the Wabash River. And that's where they did the river search here. And then that address that shows up on Richard's background is right here, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, that is, we could look it up on Google Maps, but I'm assuming that's probably 4 or 5 minutes, maybe even less, probably 3-4 minute drive from one to the other. So it could be possible they may have known each other. And I mean Tony, Tony and Richard. Because Kegan, if this was prior to 2005, I think he would have been kind of young. So maybe there was some kind of connection where they knew each other in the past, and then maybe things developed from there. Nadia says, my husband worked for security for Walmart in Quebec City for 10 years. Oh, wow. Did he get transferred around? I mean, I guess it kind of depends on, like I said, if you're moving up or in departments, but I definitely got moved around. And part of it was at my request because I was trying to move up, and sometimes they do that too because there's opening in other stores that are in higher positions that you're trying to move up to. There was another thing with the Walmart that I did mention that apparently, even though really for the most part people say he was a nice guy, I guess he did get in trouble for uh, something regarding being inappropriate with women. And then I believe, and this is just speculation for now, but it's I believe from a coworker saying that he was inappropriate towards someone, and so they ended up transferring him. And so that could be one reason too why they would transfer you. I'm just looking at the chat. Everything going good. Oh, are you talking about your husband? Oh, they laid him off. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, especially from Walmart. You wouldn't think they would uh, need to lay off anybody. Okay, so moving on. Let's see. So yeah, here's a picture of him. I'm sure most of you guys have seen this one, but I think it just kind of ironic with the whole hiding in plain sight. Obviously, this was before the murders, but yeah. So Richard supposedly worked at several Walmart stores. He transferred from one store to another because of misconduct. So there's one thing I did want to talk about. Because, like I said, I noticed a lot of people have been checking out a certain video of mine. And this is, just want to say, trigger warning. This is talking about what was possibly said during that 43-second clip that we see. So, obviously, this is just a 1-second clip that's looped over and over. And I've just got it kind of on repeat here. But apparently, this is 43 seconds long. And so apparently after the murders, they did bring in the family and some close friends, I believe, to listen to the audio, just so they could maybe see if they could recognize the voice, because obviously there's more audio to both the girls and PG talking. I'm not sure how long after that, but a certain content creator who will not name did interview the mother after this happened, and he did take down some notes and took down kind of a transcript, shall we say. And so this is what he kind of released. And so, like I said, trigger warning. So apparently at the beginning of the video, the girls are kind of talking, and this is actually this we know is fact because they do mention this, that at the starting of the recording, it's the girls kind of talking about girls stuff. And then I believe, and I forgot to write this in, I think one of them says something to the effect of, is that the guy? Or something like that. And then apparently he says, hey guys. And then I believe Abby responds with a hmm. And then obviously I'm assuming he's walking closer to them, and they're at the end of the bridge, and after that response of hmm, and he's getting closer, unfortunately Abby says, is that a gun? He's got a gun. And then you would hear the sound of a gun cocking, and then at some point he would say down the hill, which obviously you can hear the gravel and he's already kind of transporting them. So they're clearly walking when he says down the hill. So, like I said, that came from a certain YouTuber that is a guy that loves to stick with facts. So I would think this is more. I mean, we still have to say this is speculation, but I would say this is more on more likely than not. Yeah, it is too bad they didn't run. But when a gun comes out, if that is the case, I'm sure, and I would probably too freeze. Um, but this, I think there's definitely even more transcript than just what he had learned, and this is would go along more towards just theory and speculation. But I think, and this kind of comes from the original leaker, which who I think if there was any part of leakers, if that guy was real, I think this comes from the original one because there's so many different versions of leaker. But he did say in the beginning that that in this video, that BG tells the girls that they are trespassing and that they need to come with him. So I feel like that makes a lot of sense because they never obviously released any more audio than the guys down the hill. And I would think, and they said the reason why they couldn't release any more is because they felt like it would distract the public and not help the investigation. And to me, that translates to, in just my opinion, is that he was probably brandishing a gun and he was talking to something about trespassing, which would have made people, before this got solved, people thinking that it was some kind of law enforcement. So I think that kind of really makes sense. Yeah, freezing is real. Yeah, if he did pull out a gun, I'm sure a lot of us would have probably froze. I've been involved. Well, I didn't have a gun pulled on me, but I was involved in a shooting when I had 2 kids with me. Um, I was in shock in the beginning, but luckily my next steps, what I did, probably saved my life and the kid's life. That's a story for another day. But yeah, it it's crazy. So anyway, I just thought I'd kind of touch on that because, like I said, I noticed a lot of people have been going to that video, and that's kind of basically the main part of that video is what's possibly discussed in that 43-second video. And like I said, the other thing that was really odd is why they never released any more than just 48 frames of BG walking. And I think that's probably because he's about to pull out a gun and they wanted to keep that close to the vest. And I'm sure a lot of people see a lot of different things, but to me, it really looks like he's about to brandish a gun in this. So anyway, I just thought I would touch on that just because everybody seems to be going to that video. Let me just check the chat here for a minute. I got a couple of other things to show you guys real quick. One of the things I really hope that we could learn from this case is how we could utilize and advance maybe the direction of sketches. And I only say that because after I did a age progression of the young guy sketch, with how close it looks like Alan, and I'm not saying it's like an exact match, but I mean, it's pretty darn close. I think there could be, something that we could really, really learn from this. And like I said, we could always have the original sketch, but we could always have, especially in a situation where you're coming from an older sketch and then they release a young guy sketch, but they really are saying that the guy's kind of the same age and it's just one person. But that confused that really confused everybody and was one of the biggest problems with the case. And so I just don't think it would hurt to possibly age progress these if that scenario comes up again where you've got two sketches and they're different ages. And even just one sketch alone, especially if it's a male, to have facial hair and without facial hair, because here's my age progression. And of course, I took his hat that he's wearing, but and I did add the blue eyes in, but I think it wouldn't hurt to have some extra stats to go along with, these sketches, especially, how confident the witness was about certain aspects of the face. So we could have just see the sketch and then we could see attachments. And one of those attachments would be, say, stats from the witness. And so they were like 20% sure about the hair, but they were 100% sure he was a white male. And the thing that stuck out the most was the nose. They were 90% sure he had a long, nose. And so seeing that the witness wasn't too confident about the hair, then we wouldn't put too much stock in the hair and focus more on a certain aspect of the face that the witness was confident about. So, like I said, I just think there's something that we can always learn from any of these cases. And this, like I said, the sketches was just such a mess. So let me take a sip. I'm losing my voice real quick. Sorry. So anyway, let's see. Did we cover? Okay, so we covered that. There's one more thing. If you guys haven't heard the voice comparison, I'll play just part of it one more time. This is taken just certain words from the tram video. Oh, and then I'm going to put up with guys. And so I'll just play this for anyone that hasn't heard it. This is the original audio. And then what I do is, because this is what I do for my normal videos, is I'll record something and then I run it through filters, which enhances the audio. It really raises the highs and lows. It just adds more body to the audio itself so you can hear a lot more stuff. And so I did that with the original audio as well as with the tram video. So I'll just play that. It's just a real short one.
Where's the world show coming up? Where's the world show coming up? The world show coming up. The world show coming up. Cable snap. Where's the world show coming up? The world show coming up. Cable snap. Where's the world show coming up? Cables. 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 The world show. Where's the world show coming up? Coming up.
So yeah, so stop. So I think it's pretty darn close match. Like I said, it's Down the Hill is really hard to match anything with because it's so fast and it's really low. Guys is really obviously out of the 4 words, Guys is the best to work with. Okay, there was a couple other things I did want to touch on. And where is it at? Oh, I gotta pull it up. So the Delphi, so we didn't read the letter. So if you didn't hear, obviously, I'll just quickly read it real quick one more time. If you didn't catch my trailer, but he did write the court, Carroll County Circuit Court. Basically, he says, in the cause listed above, I, Richard M. Allen, hereby throw myself at the mercy of the court. I am begging to be provided with legal assistance in a public defender or whatever help is available. At my initial hearing on October 28th of this year, I asked to find representation for myself. However, at this time, I had no clue how expensive it would be just to talk to someone. I also did not realize what my wife and I's immediate financial situation was going to be. We have both been forced to immediately abandon employment, myself due to incarceration, and my wife for her personal safety. She has had to abandon our house for her own safety. What little reserve there is will fail to even maintain the original residence. I'm assuming, I guess that's what it is. Again, I throw myself at the mercy of the court. Please provide me with whatever assistance you may. Thank you for your time in this most urgent matter. Sincerely, Richard M. Allen. So, I think a lot of people, obviously, the last judge recused himself because he was overwhelmed and he was in fear, I guess, for his safety. It seems like anybody that's going to be involved in this case is going to be, kind of dealing with the same thing. And so I can kind of see why there hasn't been a public defender yet. But let's hope he gets, someone defend him so he can have his due process, so they can have get justice the proper way. Paul K says, theory, Kegan sets up the meet, drives Alan to the bridge. Alan forces girls down the steep ridge, and someone else is waiting down the hill. Theory only loved the show. Thank you so much, Paul K. Yeah, sure. I definitely think Richard and Kegan were working together to some degree. So yeah, I can agree with most of that for sure. I wonder if they were chatting with a fake person and went there to meet him. How would BG just be there with a gun? Maybe coincidence, but odd. What if they were chatting with a fake person? Went there to meet him. How would BG? The gun. So I think Becky would be. I mean, there's so many scenarios, but obviously they were talking with this Anthony Shots account. So they're thinking they're talking with this guy. Now, keep in mind, if you don't know the whole backstory, is that before Kegan, who was using this account, was talking with Libby's friend first, then was started speaking with Libby, I think, the day prior, and then, of course, the day of. And so, and one of the things is Libby, for some reason, because the grandparents mentioned this, is that it seemed like they didn't have any plans that day. They were going to help clean around the house. They were going to organize the office or something like that. And then all of a sudden, Libby wanted to go to the bridge. So maybe she was chatting with this Anthony Shots. Now, was it Kegan Klein that, was still using the Anthony Shots, or could he have given access to Richard? And then, of course, then they think they're going to go meet this guy here, and unfortunately, and then also what gives it away is, where's the picture at? Oh, there it is. Obviously, they're taking Snapchats. So this came from Snapchat. As a matter of fact, she took one prior to that. So here's Libby posting a Snapchat, which obviously he was, they were talking via these accounts. So he would have seen, any of her friends that are associated with that account would have seen this post. And so it's just, if you think about the timing, this is uploaded at 2:05. This one's uploaded at 2:07. And so he could have been waiting somewhere in the woods on the northwest side, or he could have been waiting on the southwest side. And then once he's seen them on the bridge, here he shows up 6 minutes later. So I think that's probably something to that effect of what could happen. Apologize for the dogs. The energy guys here checking the all the meters. So he's going around checking the meters. So and all our neighbors have dogs, so you can hear the dogs like barking down the street, and then they get closer and closer. So I can tell he's probably wandering around the house. So I apologize. Did they ever divulge the conversation with Anthony Shots? There is a little bit with the friend of Libby. Not with Libby that I know of, but they did show. I think I have it, but I'm not sure, and it would take me forever to find it. But they do. There is some screenshots of that conversation of Anthony talking with Libby's friend, like a week or days prior to what happened. We love dog. No worries, we love dogs barking. Yeah, we got 4 of them. We're dog sitting. So, okay, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on. Okay, so we went over the letter. We did the inmate, and okay, then we did his addresses. You guys did see that Libby or Richard's daughter was wearing Libby's, Abby and Libby's shirt with this cat laying on her back. It's kind of creepy to see that. I do have a video where, because there is in the search warrant for Ron Logan that there's possible animal hair. It would be interesting that, because it seems like they have 2 cats, because I've seen this black cat and then an orange tabby. As a matter of fact, let's see. I have the video. Oh yes, right there. So I'm not sure. So there's an orange tabby right there. It's weird. It looks like he's got a knife in his hand. I don't know if you guys can see that. Maybe it's scissors. It's really weird. I'll have to zoom that in. But it's so weird. It looks like he's got a knife in his hand right there. And then it never fails that he's wearing this blue coat that could possibly... I doubt it's the same one. I'm sure he probably tossed and burned it. That sure looks like a knife. It's definitely shiny. Anyway, it's weird. Looks like there's like some kind of skull. I'm gonna have to never really... I've seen this video, but I've never really kind of put a lot of stock into it. But it certainly looks like he's got some kind of knife or scissors. And he's clearly interested in what looks like a... I don't know, it looks like a skull. It's weird. Really weird. I might have to zoom in and kind of deep dive that a little bit. Really odd. Apparently there is a creepy guy comment. Oh, interesting. Thank you so much for the $5. Creepy guy comment. Huh. Okay, one more. There's one thing I did. Okay, so they did take... This is something interesting. I'm sure they probably took more stuff. Let's see if I can find it. So some of the things that they took was 2 bundles of dark cloth or clothing, a shoebox, a Macy's shopping bag, flash photography items in the shed. They were also digging around the shed. One of the things I noticed that they didn't mention is electronics. So makes me kind of wonder. But maybe they just kind of left that out, or could have been in one of the bags that they brought out. But that was kind of interesting. I would think that would also kind of put stock into the whole either pedo ring or um, him working with Kegan Klein. Chrissy's Corner for collections. In my honest opinion, I do think there was a meetup with Anthony and she brought her friend for protection. But what the girls didn't know was they weren't meeting Anthony. Know your kids, know who your kids are talking to. I agree. I heard it's a gun. I think so. Yeah, it does. It looks like a skull. It's really weird. Knife, and he has a blue jacket. Okay, that's what I thought. It does seem like he's just obviously he's not going after the cat, but he's interested in whatever that skull is. So, just to recap everything that we just talked about, we played the phone call from the inmate, which he just kind of discussed that obviously Richard's been transferred 3 times now, and he's in kind of like being segregated from all the other prisoners because they are threatening him. Let's just hope nothing happens until his day in court so that family can get justice. Kegan Klein's charges, part of his charges were dropped, some were amended. They just released this today saying that the parties are engaged in negotiations. So his main trial is in January, but he does have an upcoming final pretrial conference. And this is Kegan next month, December 22nd, which is actually 1 full month after this probable cause hearing for if it's going to be sealed or not. I did, and I will put the link to that. I think most of you know. If not, the family does want to keep the probable cause affidavit sealed. As always, I will put the link to that in the description at the end of the video. And so just before we finish up, like I said, not only do I cover murder, mystery, and paranormal, but we do want to go out and actually help the missing. Me and Steve have been kind of collabing a lot, and we do want to kind of combine channels or something. I don't want to say too much, but we do want to work together and kind of help some cold cases and / missing people on a more regular basis. Of course, we got winter right now, but come in a couple of months, we want to kind of get on the road and start kind of expanding this channel and evolving, if that makes sense. Still be covering true crime, but obviously we're going to try to go out more and help people, of course, at no cost. So that is the direction. And as I said, the funding helps. Everything that I get as far as donations, I put right back into this channel and help finding the missing. Paul K says, I also wonder if they did a dry run. Sounds horrible, but the phones will be able to tell that, I presume. Oh, you're talking about kind of doing it before the murders. Maybe. I mean, when did he? I mean, Kegan did research that Marathon gas station, which is, just to remind you, we go back down to Delphi here. So here's Richard's home. Here's the bridge at Abby. It only take, just walking would only take 35 minutes. And this road right here takes you to that private driveway, which goes right under the bridge at the end there. So that Marathon gas station, which he would probably pass every day coming back and forth from work from that CVS, is right in the middle. So they could have met up somewhere, maybe at Riley Park, or at Marathon. And then from there, who knows? Could have parked at the, there's always talk about the abandoned CPS building or somewhere else, maybe even Mirror's parking lot. But yeah, they could have met up and then went from there. As always, it's an honor to have the captain in here. I said it's always surreal to see in there. Just somebody I've always followed way before I did YouTube. Has an amazing style of putting videos together. He has been just amazing and a true gentleman when it comes to putting videos together that are very respectful for the family and stuff. And it's got a great mind and a great, like I said, captain's awesome. And that almost brings me to tears because, like I said, somebody that's inspired when I put videos together, when I watched him, his techniques inspired me. So it's really cool. So with that, I think we've covered everything. Let's see, we started at 3:30, so almost an hour and a half. Let me just see the chat. I think tomorrow we'll take phone calls. I was gonna do it today, but I'm afraid I might run into trouble since we had mic problems and then problems with the camera. So I'm kind of afraid to open up the phone line. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow because I've been dying to do that, but just haven't had the time. Thank you so much, man. The feeling is very much mutual. That's awesome, man. That's so cool. Like I said, he did put out a video recently. If you haven't seen it, he doesn't put out usually every week or two he puts out a video, but they never fail. They're always amazing, very informative. So definitely go check that out. Check his check his channel out. I'm just trying to think. I hate that. I feel like there's one thing that I'm missing. I wanted to show you guys, but I don't know. Well, I guess I'll show you guys tomorrow then. I can remember it. So anyway, I do have a new pet outro, but I messed up on the music, so you'll have to wait till tomorrow. But new people have been sending me in pictures of their pet. If you're new to the channel and you got a picture of your pet you'd like to send in, just email me with the pet's name and the picture, and we'll get it into an outro because we like to involve the community as much as I can. So, and then also for the members, I do have some extra stuff coming out from the trip we just did from looking for Dylan Rounds, 5 days in the desert. So I've got tons of footage. I just had to wait for Candace Cooley to give me the go ahead to release some of that. But with that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to tune in. I apologize for the beginning and the volume. We'll definitely get that fixed. I got a new mic on the way. So with that said, thank you, mods. You guys are amazing. Thank you to everybody that donated. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you guys.